What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be telling y'all a story time that was sent in to me about this guy's cousin who freaked out on Thanksgiving and ruined the whole day. Not for everybody, more so just for himself, but I figured it would be a story time y'all will enjoy. But before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. You're going to get punched in the face by the tooth fairy, and you don't want that. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Nice rack and her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million.
Alright, so I think by now it's basically an open secret that every now and then you're gonna get a family member that kinda sucks. And I guess the person that sent this in to me is in a situation where one of their cousins is just kind of a bummer to be around, you know? He's a little bit entitled, he's really angry all the time, everything sucks. Just somebody that bums you out overall. And this particular cousin that was a bummer wasn't really that big of a deal in their life because they only saw them once every 3-4 years. They lived across the country. So, they weren't out there very often. This just happened to be one of the Thanksgivings where they were going to be in town. And because they never really hung out, they never really saw each other, it wasn't like a situation where he was excited to see him, or thought hey, this is going to be a super awesome, fun experience. He kind of was dreading it because the last time he was here, he remembers it sucking really bad. And obviously, his parents are giving him the whole, no, give your cousin the benefit of the doubt thing. But his cousin comes in and almost instantly just begins to, be the cousin that he expected. Right away, he starts complaining that he doesn't know how he's expected to spend Thanksgiving in this house because it's too small and dirty for him. And, keep in mind, this is his aunt's house he just showed up to. And he's talking to the kid who lives in the house. It's his house, too. Saying that, he hates having to go to poor people's houses and obviously just kind of being a douche for no reason. It's still your family, And whatever, the subscriber tries to hit him with kindness. He's like, okay, you're going to make fun of me and my family for not having cool stuff in my house. I'll try to be nice. And he's like, yeah, I bet your house is way cooler, but it's just good to be around family. Maybe next time we do Thanksgiving, it'll be at your house. He's just trying to be nice and get out of this super awkward situation because, nobody likes when someone's calling their house stupid, dirty, and poor. That's not a good feeling for anybody. A, it doesn't matter, and B, it's just not something you're supposed to say to the person whose house you're at. And his cousin just kind of shuts that down immediately and is like, don't try to be nice to me. Don't get it confused. I don't like you. And he, is kind of takes a step back for a second and is like, damn, all right, dude. So you just showed up at my house, you call it stupid, dirty, and poor, and when I don't start arguing with you about it and getting insanely defensive and fighting with you, then you get mad at me and say, don't be nice to me because I don't like you. And at that point, he just makes a mental choice. He's like, I'm done being nice to this guy. I'm done helping him with anything he needs. I'm done, hanging out with him. I just really don't want to be around you, bro. If I try to be nice to you after you're a jerk and your response is don't try to be nice to me because I hate you, I feel like at that point I have liberty to not talk to you anymore. And so this cousin just becomes the whiniest little baby over the next few days. He's always asking for stuff, asking where things are, just trying his best to get him to basically be his little slave and follow him around and do anything he asks of him. But the entire time, he just, keeps ignoring him, not doing it, doing everything he can to avoid it. And the cousin's getting really pissed off about it, right? I guess before, the other times he had come here, he would just kind of go along with what his cousin wanted because his mom has always said, don't cause problems, he's family, you don't see him very often, you can deal with it. But at this point, he just didn't want to do it. So no, he wasn't going to pick up after him. He wasn't going to, get him water when he was in bed because he's too tired. He wasn't going to, get the shower warmed up for him. Just basically he wanted a maid. And so he goes up to the subscriber's mom and starts complaining that, your son isn't helping me do this and this and this. And, as he's explaining it, it becomes very abundant that he basically just wants a servant to take care of him. And instead of backing up the cousin and being like, you're right, you're a guest in our home, the mom is kind of like, yeah, it's not my son's job to get you food when you're downstairs and don't feel like coming upstairs. And he kind of gets annoyed with that and starts to argue with his aunt, right? He's like, what? This is your house and you don't feel like it's your son's job to get things for me? And the mom's like, no, I mean, it's his job to be nice to the guest, but he has no obligation to literally do anything you ask of him, even if it's just a menial task. If you clog the toilet, you don't hand him the plunger and just tell him to handle it. And he really does not like being told this, dude. He really wanted his cousin to be his servant. And instead of just kind of accepting the fact that oh, I've been mean to my my cousin, maybe I took things too far and misunderstood it. He decides to do what he thinks is gonna get this big reaction. He's like, this trip has sucked, I hate it here, and he like storms off and goes upstairs, right? And everybody's kind of making fun of him for being dramatic because it was just unnecessary to, attack your aunt for like not letting you use your cousin as a slave and then storm off like, okay, yeah, they're the bad guys. The reason you hate it here is because no one's just doing everything you want to do. That's called a normal situation, man. So whatever, that's the night before Thanksgiving. So the next morning, it's officially Thanksgiving. Everybody's hyped to eat some stuffing, turkey, whatever. But his cousin, after the last night, is just refusing to come out of his room. He's like, no, you guys don't know how to treat a guest in your home, so I refuse to come out and eat Thanksgiving with you. I have no desire to be with a family that would treat me like that. Just being way over the top. And obviously the subscriber that sent this in is like, whatever, let him sit in the room and starve, who cares? But the rest of the family feels bad and, is trying to like get him to come out. His mom tries, his dad tries, aunt, uncle, his siblings, everybody's trying, and it's just not working. Like, he is furious at the fact that he got told no by his aunt. He's furious at the fact that his cousin just isn't doing everything he's saying, and he's just refusing to come out. And when everyone's trying to get you to come out and calm down and you just refuse, it starts to be on you, especially on a holiday. So whatever, by his own decision, he just decides to spend the entire day locked in that little room, pissed off, just stewing about how, like, my cousin is the worst person to ever exist, and if I get the chance, I shall slay him with a sword like a dragon, just like being an absolute weenie. So I think in his mind, he was like, this is a super good play to make everyone feel bad for me. In his mind, if he spent all day in there upset, everyone would get more sympathy. But it kind of had the exact opposite effect, which should be obvious to basically everybody else. Like, in his mind, everyone was going to be really, really upset that he wasn't spending the day with them on Thanksgiving. But in reality, they were more just annoyed with the fact he was being so dramatic over this and hiding from the rest of the family, and then also making fun of him because it was so over the top. Like, no one was upset about it more than just kind of being like, well, that's annoying. So whatever, the food is about to get served, and they've left him alone for a while, but his mom is like, will you please go try to get your cousin out of the room? So whatever, it's Thanksgiving. He goes, he knocks on the door, and he's like, hey man, listen, I know you've been in here, you've been mad all day, I understand that you don't want to come down, but the food's about to get served, you only get to eat Thanksgiving once a year, so, I would recommend coming down and maybe eating some food. No one's mad at you, we can just drop this whole thing and get over it. Which is the nice thing to do. He obviously doesn't like his cousin very much, but he's at least trying to patch things up so everyone can have a good holiday dinner. But instead of a nice response from the other side of the door, all he hears is, what did I tell you about talking to me, dude? I told you that I hate you and to leave me alone. Like, I don't like you. And so, he's like, all right, man, really? He starts to argue with him a little bit between the door. He's like, all right, man, I didn't really want you to come eat down here anyways, but like, fine. If that's how you're going to continue to be snarky, then be like that. You don't have to come eat dinner with us, like, whatever. And the cousin's like, oh, yeah, you don't want me there in the first place, see? So why did you come ask me? And he goes, because your mom asked me to, dude. I did not want to come ask you this. The family's pressuring me to. If you don't want to come, then you don't want to come. Trust me, I don't care. You're the one missing out on Thanksgiving dinner. Like, it's your loss. At the end of the day, if you don't want to come eat, that's on you. And he kind of goes silent for a second. I think in his mind, he thought his cousin was going to cave and be like, no, please come eat with us, please. But he's just not having any of it. He's like, no, fine, then don't eat. Like, that's on you, whatever. And after the silence, he's probably on the other side trying to think about what his next move should be to make sure that it's as, like, dramatic as humanly possible. And so he decides that the best course of action after hearing that, like, fine, miss out on the food, I don't care, is to just scream. And he just decides to start screaming, Thanksgiving is for losers! And he yells it 3 times, just like as loud as humanly possible. Crank the volume to 11 on the amp, play the chord. That's basically how loud this dude was screaming, Thanksgiving is for losers, to the point where the entire house hears it and they come to figure out what's going on because they're curious. And so at this point, most of the hallway is like full of the family, right? The family's crammed into the hallway near the door, and they're not really like saying anything to him. His parents are talking, asking him to please come out. It's not that serious. Stop yelling. You're interrupting the family time. And once again, his parents trying to help him, cousins, all of that, he just decides to yell again. Like, oh, the entire family's in the hallway. We'd really like you to come out. Thanksgiving is for losers. And so he's just screaming it. And at this point, his grandparents are getting upset, They're like, why is he doing this? He's ruining the holiday. His mom's getting embarrassed because it's like a situation where you never want to be the parent of the kid who's ruining Thanksgiving screaming for no reason. And so his dad is also getting embarrassed, and he decides that he's had enough. So he just kind of pounds on the door, and he's like, we're done. Open the door now. This is ridiculous. Stop screaming. You're embarrassing your mother and I. Open the door. And of course, he's just like, no, I'm not going to open the door. And now, instead of just screaming Thanksgiving is for losers, him and his dad start to like yell at each other through the door. And it starts off pretty normal, just like your typical, oh, well, you always enforce rules that don't make sense. But then it gets ugly. Out of nowhere, his cousin from the other side of the door starts to be like, this is why mom doesn't love you anymore. Just like pure rage, screaming at his dad through the door. And the entire family is listening to this entire thing. It's like an episode of Jerry Springer, but instead of not knowing who the people are, it's your family and they're in the hallway next to your bedroom instead of, like anywhere else on a studio where you aren't. And the family is just listening to all of this in shocked silence because there really isn't a way to react to that, right? Like, the scenes in Ratatouille when a human walks in and all the rats are cooking and they all just like freeze and turn and look? And that's basically the look on the family's face as this kid is just tearing into his dad. And the dad is like, I don't care, I've had enough, that's it, like, stop it now. And I guess the yelling wasn't enough. He had worked himself into enough of a frenzy that he's had to start breaking stuff. And the only reason that the family and anyone knows that he starts breaking stuff is they hear things start breaking through the door in the other room. Like they hear, some shattering. They hear a really heavy object falling and hitting the ground. It sounds like he's just being a Tasmanian devil in the room that he's in, right? Keep in mind, it's not their house. It's not his room. It's the subscriber's guest room. So if he is going ham breaking everything in there, it's not his stuff to break. Like, regardless, you should never go ham breaking stuff in your house. It's just not a very good move. Every gamers have rage throwing a controller. You shouldn't be breaking stuff that you don't own, though. Like, if you're at your friend's house and you throw his controller out the window, that's just kind of not a very swag move, in my opinion. But his dad starts hearing this breaking, and it's not his house, so he decides to kick down the door. Keep in mind, not their door. So this entire situation has just kind of destroyed the subscriber's house. And so he kicks down the door and kind of like storms in. And at that point, all the adults rush into the room and the subscriber doesn't really have a clear view of what's going on for a bit, which is fair, but after a bit, they come out and like the cousin and his dad go down one hallway and he gets a look into the room, and it's almost like this kid had just had a strategy for how to do this, dude. Literally everything is broken. Like, everything is broken, and it's the guest room. So at least it wasn't his cousin's room, that could have been worse. He could have walked into like a smashed Xbox, a couple monitors. Instead, he just decided to trash the guest room. Not that it's much better in any way, shape, or form, but like, you have to look on the bright side. But like I said, it was almost like his cousin had developed a strategy for how he was going to destroy this room before he started doing it, because everything is affected. He smashed some lamps. He had pulled the TV off the dresser onto the floor, and it was an older TV because, guest room, so it was heavy, so it had like broken under its own weight from the fall. He had flipped over the mattress, kicked a hole in one of the like nightstand cabinet doors, the nightstands that have like a cabinet on them. He had kicked a hole in it. And obviously, it's just insane. So he starts to storm after his cousin because he's pissed off. And he gets there, and it's his uncle, his dad, him, and his cousin. And he's like, why did you do this to my house? You destroyed my guest room. Why would you do that? And he's just sitting there with like this smug smile on his face. It's not like he feels bad. It's not like he's like, listen, that got out of control. I don't know what happened. And he just looks at his uncle and goes, I don't know. I just really don't like Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's a valid excuse, bro. If you just don't like a holiday, just destroy somebody's house. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Who needs to like not break stuff just because you don't like Christmas? Oh man, I hate 4th of July. So you just crash your car into an Arby's? Like, what? Alright guys, I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. If you take a look at your screen now, you'll see a gift card code. For those of you that don't know, I give one of these away in every video I post to say thanks to y'all for subscribing and turning on notifications. So if you haven't already, you should. And yeah, I'd appreciate it if you already do, you're a G. And while I've got your attention, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam, your mom's a hoe. I'll get back to it now, bye. And at that point, everybody is just ashamed of the guy. His parents, the aunts, the uncles, grandma, grandpa, everybody kind of overhears the I just don't like Thanksgiving. And at that point, like, there's just really not much that you can do other than just ask them to leave, right? You know, I understand Thanksgiving's a holiday. Holidays are about keeping the family together. But if someone just went and destroyed your guest room, you're allowed to ask him to leave. So sure enough, the subscriber's dad is like, you guys just can't stay. I'm sorry. I appreciate you coming out here to try to do Thanksgiving, but your son destroyed my house. I don't really want him here, so you guys gotta go. Which, you know, all in all is not the spirit of Thanksgiving, but the spirit of Thanksgiving also isn't destroying your family's property. So I would probably do the same thing. If my cousin decided to start like trying to destroy my house, I'm just kicking him out. I'm not dealing with that. And to make this worse, up until this point in the story, I'm like, what? This has got to be like a 13, 14-year-old kid with some anger issues? No. Apparently his cousin is like a junior in college, so it's an adult that had just had this temper tantrum. And listen, even if you're a 9-year-old, it's not okay to destroy your relative's guest room. It's never all right, but it's especially not okay if you're an adult. Like what? This guy's about to graduate college and get a job being in charge of something? Who's gonna hire the guy that decides to go Operation Rambo on his uncle's guest room television? But whatever, at that point, you know, he's arguing with his brother, the parents of the kids, right? So like the two siblings. They start arguing because the dad of the spoiled kid is like, come on, you're gonna kick us out on Thanksgiving? That's messed up. And obviously the dad whose property just got destroyed is like, yeah, I'm kicking you out on Thanksgiving. You destroyed my house on Thanksgiving. And usually when people are arguing, things get heated, but when you're arguing with your sibling, things get heated much quicker. And so the dads, being siblings, start to beef very, very quickly and start to, you know, insult each other, get heated. They start saying things about each other's wives, all that good stuff. And there's this lull, and he's like, whatever, you're a horrible brother if you're willing to kick your siblings out on Thanksgiving. Like, do you have any idea how messed up this is? And he goes, how messed up I am, dude. At least I didn't raise a kid that's the Tasmanian devil on other people's property. I'll take being messed up all day. At least I didn't mess up my kids. And so, you know, they start trying to fight at that point. The wives get between them and hold them apart, which is it's just siblings being siblings. It's like a little brother fight, but they're just 40 instead of 8. And so at that point, the family, the spoiled family, is like tail between the legs, trying to just get out of there and save face as much as humanly possible. Not that it's very easy to save face when you're responsible for ruining Thanksgiving in the first place, but they try to do the classic, like, you can't fire me, I quit move. And they're like, fine, we're leaving, but we're only leaving because we don't want to spend our Thanksgiving with you guys. So we're not leaving because you want us to leave, because we wouldn't do that. So just know that we are leaving, but we're not leaving because of you. And obviously everybody's like, all right. They take the time to explain it like that. So, you know, okay, fine, leave. Like, you're still giving us what we want, even though you're pretending it's not what we want. And they go and they storm out, and for like 2 minutes after they leave, the rest of the family is literally just sitting in silence, right? Nobody knows what to say, nobody knows what to do, nobody wants to be the person that like moves first and goes and says something. And after sitting in silence for a while, they hear like a thing in the kitchen, like a timer go ding, because the food was supposed to be served relatively quickly. That's why he was going to get his cousin. Obviously, this had taken like 10 minutes, so everything was ready now. And instead of the ding kind of remembering everyone that like it's a somber occasion and we should be sad, they decide to just roll with it because the grandpa of the family, who's the dad of both the guys that are fighting, goes, well, let's not waste the food. That was annoying. And everybody's like, all right, bet. And they just go to the kitchen and started eating the Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just saying, man, if the family doesn't even care that much that you weren't there for Thanksgiving because you were being so dramatic, you probably were the problem, dude. Like, if nobody was like, I sure do miss him, then you guys probably were not very swag to be around, especially if grandpa didn't care. I feel like grandparents are usually the people that are like, Come on, guys, just get along. We can do this. We're family. If even grandpa's like, who cares that they left, let's just eat, then you've got to be on the wrong side of the situation. But of course, it just couldn't end there. Instead of just letting it slide, everybody forgetting it, spoiled kid and his family ended up going home, and instead of just making their own Thanksgiving dinner, they decide to get on the internet and start posting on Facebook about how horrible their family is and how they were just betrayed and kicked out on Thanksgiving. And they just can't believe that people would be that cold to their family. And obviously, a lot of the comments are sympathizing with them because, they don't really know what's going on. And the subscriber doesn't have Facebook because it's for 80-year-olds, but all the adults in his family do. So sure enough, it starts this Thanksgiving flame war while everyone's still at his house, like eating pie, where they're all just having this flame off in the comment section under this post, arguing about who did what and who should have been kicked out and who shouldn't have. And now it's just caused this huge issue in the family. And even the grandma and grandpa were like on their Facebook accounts involved, arguing with people in the comments. And you know that your family drama is getting a little bit too juicy when even grandma has to hop on the Facebook account and get involved. I've never understood why people do this so much, dude. Like, I would never want to post my family drama on Facebook and like tag them in it and get everybody involved. This just sounds like literally asking to be on an episode of Jerry Springer, which I don't think anyone wants. You shouldn't be on the internet flexing the fact that your son destroyed your brother's guest room. I just feel like that's something you might want to keep on the down low, but hey, to each their own. Yeah, my son destroyed an entire guest room in 3.7 seconds flat, so I don't want to hear anything about what you guys have been going through. Regardless, if I had to boil this down into one lesson, I like to do that with my videos, I would say, remember, Thanksgiving is for losers. Seriously though, that'll do it for the video. If you enjoyed, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. I'd really appreciate it. Beyond that, you can check out the intro song. Link's gonna be in the description along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. Great way to get discounted on G Fuel and help me out. It would be very much appreciated. Last but certainly not least, I did go ahead and put some of my story times up on Spotify so that way you guys can listen to them offline without gameplay, whatever you prefer. I'll put that link at the top of the description, but be sure to go check it out. And yeah, on that note, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.